stream is beginning. Appreciate. Live. We are live.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Podfeet.
How you all doing there?
Doing good.
Nice
doing
to
good.
see you, everybody. Oh, so I want to give Frank a hard time right now. Frank posted on Twitter that he doesn't like the Apple bundles. He wants an a la carte plan. They have a la carte, Frank. I was thinking about while I was on my walk. I was thinking, what would be good if you could have those three things you wanted? Wait, you can. You can buy them a la carte. You goof. I gotta close my door. I can hear myself coming through your headphone. Wait, why can't
You
I
can't.
hear myself?
You
Steve?
shouldn't. That's not me because I'm all on headphones. I have no audio coming out. You're hearing
just
something.
started coming out twice to me.
Do you have Discord both? Discord and me?
Discord
and
is muted.
I'm starting to get a delay on you and some pausing.
I'm hearing you like 3 times now.
Okay, yeah, something's going on because you're looping.
Why are you coming through 3 times?
I don't hear that.
Maybe twice. Let me see whether. Let me check something. Let me see what SoundSource is not successfully muting you over there, but you were for a moment. So
I'm getting delays and stutters on your video.
Yeah, I know. Can you just hang on, please? Just a minute. I'm going to send the output device to my microphone. Okay, talk to me again.
How's this sound? 1, 2, 3. Well, now I hear myself. You just piped me back through.
Oh. Okay, you can listen to yourself twice, so I don't have to.
The audience is hearing it too.
Well, that's fun. But I can't, so I'm happy.
No, you should turn that off.
All right, fine. Well, that's how I used to... so if I do that, I think I'm going to hear you twice. Talk to me, Steve.
This is Steve coming through hopefully once. 1, 2, 3.
No, I'm hearing you twice. So SoundSource is not functioning correctly. This is not a good thing. So SoundSource isn't letting me mute Discord.
Well, if you go into Discord and change your audio preferences, can you cancel me
And I
that?
did that, and you said it piped the audio back to you, so I can't. I can't
What?
stop it.
No, I mean just... wait, what did you change in Discord that caused that to happen? What selected?
So this is really hard because I'm hearing you twice. So let me talk for a minute. What I used to do is I used to change my audio into my headphones. The way I hear Discord, I would change it to my microphone input instead. But now my microphone input has the same name as my headphone output. They're both the same device, so I can't send it there. And when I sent it to, I sent it to Al's mic. Anyway, it doesn't work. I can't do it.
Is there another option you could set it to?
Yeah, I can push this mute button on your audio. There. Now I can't hear you, I bet. That's perfect, but the audience can't hear you. So that's not going to work. Nemo Live not muting Discord. So I did do a system. Let's see. I could mute. There. Talk to me, Steve.
How about now? Am I coming through for you?
Yep, you're coming through twice. So I have you muted in both outputs muted in SoundSource, and it's not working. Discord or Nemo Live. It's a SoundSource. That's awesome. So I did do a reinstall of my OS over the top, the combo updater today, and I wonder if it missed a setting or something.
Yeah, it did something to your video as well.
So last time I didn't do anything to my video. I didn't change anything, and my system CPU is... So I don't know what we want to do.
Well,
last time I think we had you quit and come back in and it fixed it, but
if I quit, you mean Mimo? If I quit Mimo, it will stop the broadcast and then I have to start a new one.
I can't listen like this. I can't mute you, and you're saying the video is terrible. So I
think the video I think we can live with. It's not that bad. But the audio apparently is the problem for you.
Twice on everything. As long as you don't talk, I'm fine. If you can live with the video, but something happened that all of a sudden you started saying my video was bad, and I started hearing you twice. So I don't know what to do about this.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm. We're working on it. Steve's in here.
So you bring my audio in here, right?
I didn't believe so.
So you bring the gain down to 0 and see if that cancels out one of them.
Okay. Ooh, yeah, I think that might work. Oh, Steve, this. Hit it again. Okay. Sorry about the swear word there. Just about pulled my laptop off again. Okay.
All right, am I
Talk
coming
to me,
through
Steve.
once or twice?
You're coming through once.
Good.
Good
So
idea.
you must still be hearing me through Discord.
Right. Except, don't I need to mute Discord?
I don't talk typically while you're recording.
Okay, so if I mute you, does this mean? Well, I wonder. Yeah, you. I do hear you typing and talking sometimes.
Well, I'll
so-
mute myself while you're recording.
Okay, I think that's what we'll have to do. All right, with all that nonsense, shall we do some roll call?
Yes.
We've got Mike and BJ and Drunk Nick Nolte, who's Marty, and we've got Jason and Frank and Jill and Mike and Sandy and Michael. And who we got in the sidebar? We got Aaliyah and hey, is Nick here? Haven't seen Nick in a long time. Maybe. There's Frank again. There's Jill again. There's Lindsay. And wait a minute, Mac Bones is. I wonder whether that's Pat Dengler.
Pat.
I wonder if she's actually here. She may or may not be here. It's kind of weird. You see people in the sidebar. Ed is here, and John and Rose, and in my time zone, it is Rose's birthday. So happy birthday, Rose!
Happy birthday, Rose. Yes.
But technically, it's yesterday where she is.
Or tomorrow, depending on your
Right.
frame of reference.
We're not really sure. All right, I should probably get started. It is 5:07. So
All right.
we are going to. I haven't even done a test recording. Let's put some intro music in and see if you can hear it. Let's bring that down some more. All right, let me see. Tell me if you can hear. Let's go do a quick test. Hi, it's been fun having trouble with audio again. Yay. All right, see if you can hear playback. Hi, it's been fun having trouble with audio again. Yay. Could you guys hear that?
I could.
Kevin made it in the nick of time. All right, Michael says you guys can hear it. So, I mean, you missed roll call, Kevin, but he sent a written excuse ahead of time.
Yeah, he's covered.
So, how's this for a coincidence? BJ and Michael know each other from a different Slack, from a baseball Slack from Japan. How fun is that?
Very cool.
Yeah. I hate it when Text Expander gets its panties in a bunch. Right now it's doing that thing where it goes, secure input, you better stop it. And I don't have the application open that it says is blocking it, so that's fun. All right, I am going to get started. I'm going to try to mute Steve. Let's see if that works. Probably doesn't, but I do, because you're talking in Discord. All right, so no talking. Here we go. Oops. Wrong view. Preview. Here we go. Actually. Places. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. With an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, September 20th, 2020, and this is show number 802. Well, it was Apple announcement this week, and that means Lori Gill, managing editor of iMore, was back on Chit Chat Across the Pond Light to talk about all the new toys and services. Lori and I seem to have like this instant chemistry. Lori put it perfectly when we were, after we were done recording, she complained that her cheeks hurt from smiling so much during the show. You know, we didn't go through every nitty-gritty detail of the announcements, but we focused on just a few things like how fun the new colors are and whether Apple is doing a good job of bringing in lower-priced models of their hardware and whether the new family setup will be right for families with kids or elderly relatives. Like I said, we had a blast, and I think you will too. Look for Chit Chat Across the Pond Light in your podcatcher of choice, or you can go listen at the link in the show notes to podfeet.com. All right. And we got an early chapter mark. That is Copy link. All right. Copy that. Do it in 2 pieces.
Good job, Kevin.
We're stupid. What did he do? Save?
You bet.
Good. All right. And we're going to do the Telegram tutorial while we're at that one. Throw two chapter marks in place to 1. Whoops. Right there. And we'll copy that. Man, I wish I could get that automated. Have I ever mentioned that?
I thought you had it automated at one time.
I did. And, you know, people, and there's people in the audience who will argue with me about this, but people swear by how awesome Keyboard Maestro is. And I find it to be the most fragile piece of software of all time. I had it automated, and then one day it didn't work anymore. And I didn't change anything.
Is that the one that allows multiple copy paste buffer?
No, I tried using a clipboard manager, but they don't use the standard Apple control, so the focus doesn't stay on the cells, so there's nothing a clipboard manager can do. But hey, JF's here.
Hey, JF.
He swears it's awesome. Okay, you can fix this problem I've got. You have to put in pauses and wait for things. I don't know. It's fragile. I tell you, it's fragile. All right.
Fragile.
I'm going to push the mute button even though it doesn't do anything. Hello. Last month, I wrote up all of the reasons I think Telegram is a better messaging app than Apple Messages. After I finished that article, I decided to make a tutorial on Telegram for Screencasts Online. This turned out to be quite a bit of a challenge to do in a way that didn't reveal the private information being conveyed to me in Telegram by my friends and family. Your Telegram persona is tied directly to your phone number, but you can choose to only reveal your handle to people on the service. I realized that I could use my trusty Google Fi cell card with because it has a different phone number to create a different persona. One of the best features of Google Fi is that I can pause service for 3 months at a time and pause it again and again and again so I don't pay anything until I really need it. Google Fi costs are prorated by how many days in a month you use it, and I only needed to turn it on for a few days. You see, you only need the phone number active long enough to install the app and sign in on each device after receiving the SMS message on the phone number. I created a second persona called @NosillaCast. My main persona is Podfeed, as you would expect. In doing this, I discovered that you can have Telegram logged into 2 accounts at the same time and flip back and forth between them. I thought that was pretty cool. I did not know you could do that. Well, next I had to get some people to agree to play with me in my fake account. Steve and Stephen Getz are usually up for this kind of fun, and my friend Diane was also excited to help. JF Brissett, my editor for Screencasts Online, was just learning about Telegram, and he volunteered too. The tricky part, though, was to have them respond at the exact instant when I was ready to record a specific action I needed them to take. I couldn't really just sit there for 10 minutes rolling film, as it were, or have them respond too quickly before I hit record. That's when I realized I could talk to myself. Remember, I've got 2 personalities now, right? I would do the setup as NosillaCast on the Mac where I was recording because I didn't have a lot of private stuff going on, and then I could respond as my Podfeet account on my iPad. This worked really, really well. But then I wanted to demonstrate how well the group features worked in Telegram. So I gathered the volunteers in a group while recording from NosillaCast, but then sent them a message from my personal Podfeet account asking them to respond right now to an and to write back in some sort of benign way. I didn't want any funny business on the video, right? Well, the last tricky bit was trying to demonstrate how you can make audio and video calls within Telegram. Steve was the closest person at hand, and I couldn't figure out how to talk to myself without a lot of feedback. So since Steve was there, he agreed to be in that tutorial as we chatted. I expected this to be challenging to pull off for all of the reasons above, but I think I nailed it. If you'd like to see the teaser trailer, I posted a link at podfeet.com, but I gotta warn you, as always, becoming a member at Screencasts Online is addictive. You get a free trial, but then you're gonna want to subscribe after you start watching the vast library of the back catalog. The other screencasters are all terrific too, so be careful or you will get sucked in. Alrighty. Yeah, so Kevin, you can go watch Steve.
Yeah, I think there might be an Academy Award nomination in there. Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we have a recording here, but no blog post, Steve.
Yeah, all right.
This would be Dan on the MacBook Air. I'll just play a minute of this. And everybody will tell me that I missed the thing. Let's see, this is the one. All right, here we go. Just play a minute here. Oh, no, I got to introduce him. All right, let's kick off the show with a short review of the 2020 MacBook Air by Dan Eckmeyer. And we'll bring him in here. 2020 MacBook Air by Dan Eckmeyer. Okay, I turned that video down, I swear. Let me see if I can do this? Yeah, there we go. I'll slow it in anyway. MacBook Air by Dan Eckmeyer. Okay, let's put it there. There we go. Okay, try that. MacBook by Dan Eckmeyer.
And all NosillaCast ways, it's Dan Eckmeyer from Ontario, Canada here, and I thought I'd come in here to give my thoughts on the latest MacBook 2020 MacBook Air. As I decided.
All right, I'm going to have to stop us here and jump ahead because I have a lot to do. All right.
MacBook Air has been very, very well worth it.
Well, thanks, Dan. I'm really excited for you having that new MacBook Air. It sounds terrific. Now, I'm not going to defend the touch bar, but I do have a comment about one question you posed. You asked how you would get to the function keys on touch bar if the developer of an app had put other stuff there. It turns out there's still a dedicated function key in the bottom left of Touch Bar Max, and when you hold that down, the function keys appear in Touch Bar. That said, I agree. I do think it's kind of a gimmick, and I don't find it that I use it nearly as often as I thought I would. The second point I wanted to make was that when I'm testing things in VoiceOver, I have a heck of a time using Touch Bar. I know how to double tap things on iOS with VoiceOver, but for some reason I can't write with Touch Bar. For example, when you select volume while cited, you can drag your finger to lower the volume. With VoiceOver turned on, it tells you when you've selected the volume control, and it tells you to drag anywhere on the touch bar after you hear a rising tone. I never hear a rising tone. It's easier to find the up-down volume controls with VoiceOver and then just tap a zillion times, just go up, 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 or down, 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 down. It's usually down, 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 down that I'm trying to do. Overall, it's not a good experience to me. Maybe if I had to use it all, I'd get the hang of it, but so far, it baffles me. Thanks again, Dan, for a great review of the 2020 MacBook Air. All right, and it said Touch Bart in here. Bart.
So for those that are hearing things twice, apparently a lot of people, but the YouTube link was posted in Discord. If you hit that, you're going to hear that in Discord as well as whatever you're listening to. So you might be hearing it both in Discord and from the YouTube live feed. So check your Discord settings or go back.
I mean, if somebody pushed the link in Discord to the YouTube video, they'd be hearing it.
If they played it,
YouTube playing in there
could be that.
Okay, Lindsay's on YouTube. She says she only hears once, so that's good.
Yeah, so go back and check those links to the NosillaCast live postings for show 802 and make sure you're not playing those in Discord. That may be the second source.
Good job, Steve.
Well, I'm not sure that's it, but just a guess.
Okay. Are a lot of people...
A few people.
Heard it? Oh. Huh.
Yeah, so if you're on podfeed.com, Sandy, and Discord...
Oh,
you would hear it from...
and only that, other than Discord.
Yeah, so Discord could be playing at once, and podfeed.com could be playing at once. So go back in your Discord chat and make sure you haven't accidentally hit the play button in the link. There are actually two postings of that link.
Can somebody delete the link? Steve, you should be able to delete the link.
Yeah, I can delete them. But I'm not sure. Would that stop it for them? I don't know if that would stop it for them.
Can you delete for both?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, Sandy says she quit Safari completely, still hears it twice. So it must be playing inside Discord then, Sandy. He must be right.
Okay, so let me delete those and see what happens.
Can you delete for everybody?
Well, I don't know if it's everybody. Let me delete them.
So Rose posted the link, right?
2 people. I've deleted it in mine. I'm not sure it deletes it for everybody.
What a mess.
That did it? Okay, did you delete it, Sandy, or was it my deletion of it that did it?
Good, because you want to know for next time, right?
Right. Had to be yours. Interesting. So maybe,
cool.
But I wasn't hearing it.
All right.
Interesting.
Here we go. All right, I'm going to record, Steve.
All right.
Maybe that's why I was hearing Steve twice.
Maybe.
Okay. All right, here we go. The reason that I do the podcast is that I just like to help people. I love to teach what I know, and podcasting and blogging give me that outlet. You've heard me say before that the best part of this has been the community of NosillaCastaways that I've gotten to know over the years. I think a lot about the different places we have to chat, and I wanted to talk a bit about the way the community engages in Facebook versus Slack. If you've never joined either conversation, maybe this article will encourage you to start. And if you're on Facebook but not our Slack, perhaps this will encourage you to give it a try. When I first created the Facebook group, we also had a Google Plus community, and the people there begged me not to create the Facebook group because they felt it would divide us. But as soon as I created it, the community began to flourish on Facebook, and we had people in there I'd never gotten to talk to before. So it's like they talk about you don't want to split the pie. We actually had more pie when we were done, when we had 2 places. We were in 2 different places, which was unfortunate, but the sum of the 2 groups was much larger, so I considered it a win. At the same time, Google Plus was doing a slow downward spiral to death, so even as the diehards were participating less and less, I promised I would stay engaged as long as we had people in there, and I'm pretty sure it was just Steve and me at the very end to turn off the lights. Before the demise of Google Plus, I'd needed to make sure we had a place for those who eschew Facebook to be able to play, so I created the Podfeet Slack. Almost immediately, the Podfeet Slack grew to include not just those diehards from Google Plus, but lots and lots of other new people. Fast forward to today, an interesting thing has started to happen. The Facebook community appears to be slowing down. I post my articles there and in Slack and on Twitter, and Steve and a few others post interesting articles from the web about tech, but it's not that often that anyone comments about those articles. People on Facebook aren't often asking questions there either. One notable exception is that our daughter Lindsay recently posted a question about replacing her printer, and she got lots of great responses and advice. It seems that people get interested when someone needs help and asks a question. Now, why would they do that more on Slack than on Facebook? I have a theory on why the Slack community is so much more engaging than Facebook. In Facebook, there's one message area without any categories for conversation subjects. If you post a question and a short time later someone responds to an older post, that older post will pop above yours in the Facebook feed and your question will get buried. I think the lack of categorized conversations may limit people's imagination of what they can or should talk about. Slack has the concept of channels within a group. The average create as many channels as they like. My goal has been to limit the number of channels because I don't want to create a paralysis of choice. I think we've settled on a nice balance of just enough channels for right now. The coolest thing about the channels is that you join only the ones that interest you. You can even turn on notifications and be sure that you'll only be alerted to your areas of interest. I think the channels we created are self-explanatory, which is why they work so well, but I want to walk through them for you. The first one is called Show Announcements. In here, Steve and I spam the group with each new blog post and reminders about the live show, or when there's an Apple announcement coming up where we all might want to chat live. So we say, hey, go on over to Discord and have the chat when the show goes live. It's a nice place to be notified, but if you just like to wait till the podcasts come out, maybe you don't want those notifications, so you wouldn't join show announcements. The next one is Security Bits. This is obviously about security topics, but it's also important to know this is where Bart watches this one channel. He actually watches two of them, but he watches this one. If you have a security question, you're likely to get his attention in here. The community will often post articles about security concerns in this channel as well. We have a channel for Programming by Stealth, which is a generic place for people to chat about programming problems and solutions. Even people who aren't taking Programming by Stealth, they enjoy hanging out in here just because they like programming. As you might imagine, this is another channel where Bart is known to participate. Members post interesting tools they've found, tutorials that help them, and ask clarifying questions about the Programming by Stealth series. I think it might be my favorite channel right now. I invented a channel called NCS Show Off, NosillaCast Show Off, because I wanted people to have a place to show off cool things they're doing. The very name invites people to do it. Bart posts his Let's Talk podcast episodes there. Darren, also known as the Mac Quad, posts about his audio reverb radio station. Jill recently posted a video of a meteor she caught with her security camera. I posted a photo I got of Comet Neowise. This channel has no rules other than to show off the stuff you're proud of. Delete Me is one of my favorite channels. You know I swear by the idea of creating a folder on your computer called Delete Me that tells future you that it contains things you don't care about. That concept carries forward to Slack, so people know this is a great place to drop in anything that doesn't fit the other categories. It's for silly things that have nothing to do with the podcast or even technology. Alistair recently put in a rant about annoying experiences with Microsoft products. I posted a video Steve made of our cat Grace putting her head in a box. Kaylee posted a funny cartoon about printers. This is such a fun channel and it has no redeeming value. I created a channel called Deals because I thought it might be a good place to have where people could post deals, like a drop-in price on an iPad or iTunes gift cards on sales or bundles for college kids. But it doesn't get a lot of traffic in there. I think I'm the only one who really posts in there very often. The final channel is called General, and this is the most widely used channel because it's kind of a catch-all place for talking about tech, asking questions, and discussing new announcements. The nice thing about having the channels is that it seems to actually encourage conversation because people get inspired by the subject of the channels. As an administrator of the Slack, I get to decide what channels you're automatically going to see, and I choose NosillaCast Show Off and show announcements in addition to General. So when you first join, those are the three that you're in. This means that when you first join, you have to figure out how to add the rest of the channels you're going to care about. I posted a question to our Slack group asking people why they like Slack so much, and Marty brought up what he does for the Slack that he manages to help with the discovery of channels problem. He has a standard message he posts to every new member that welcomes them and tells them how to find other channels. I have now created a text expander snippet to do exactly that for our new members. Notifications of activity on Slack are super flexible too. In Facebook, you either get all of the notifications or you get none of them. But in Slack, you can use the main preferences to set notifications only if you're mentioned, or maybe only if a keyword of your choosing is used. I originally thought that was the only granularity, but if you go into a specific channel, you can use the little eye icon and go into More and set notifications for that specific channel. So let's say you're a huge fan of the Delete Me channel, because who isn't, right? You could set your notifications to be for every post in that channel while leaving all of the other channels set to only if you're tagged in a post. That's pretty cool. In Slack, you can have direct message conversations with one person or even several in a group. I'm often privately chatting with Mike Price or Michael Westby about programming topics or discussing Marty's menu for us, or encouraging Tim Jar to keep challenging me with his contrary opinions, all within Slack. I would never have gotten to know any of these folks if it wasn't for Slack. Now, we use the Discord chat for the live show at podfeet.com/chat, as I mentioned, and that allows Steve and I to talk in audio and provides text chat. Discord, though, doesn't support threaded messages, which is fine for the stream of consciousness conversations of a live chat, but that doesn't work for thoughtful, asynchronous conversations like we need. Both Facebook and Slack support threaded messages. Facebook has a very obvious write a comment box under every post. And if you want to respond to a specific comment, there's actually a reply button for each individual comment, and that automatically @s the originator of the comment. It works really well. Slack, on the other hand, obfuscates its ability to do threaded messaging. It's in there, but you have to know how to look for it, and they hide it in different places depending on which operating system you're using. For example, on the desktop version, when looking at a post, there will be no options available at all to reply to that post. If you hover your cursor over the post, only then will a set of options be revealed, including add an emoji reaction, start a thread, forward, bookmark, and more. Here's a case where usually screen readers users get a diminished experience. But in this case, they actually have an advantage. Since the start a thread option only shows up on hover, I wasn't sure how a screen reader would find it. In Slack, though, the invisible emoji reaction, reply, and share buttons are actually read out loud and clear by VoiceOver. I'm sure glad it's accessible to the visually impaired, even if they hide the buttons for the sightlings. Once someone has discovered these elusive thread options on a particular post, other readers will now see the number of replies, and when that's clicked, it reveals the threads. At least it's obvious at that point. The result of this stupid obfuscation is that people reply in line instead of in threads, and that means the original poster doesn't always get a notification that someone has responded to them. Maybe I should make a text expander snippet that says, responding just so the thread is obvious, and do that to 100% of the posts in our Slack. Another thing that the Slackers like is that you can write in Markdown. In general, I find keystrokes like Command-I to italicize easier than using the code for it in Markdown, but there's one spot where this is super useful. Markdown allows you to put code in monospace. A single backtick, that's the key to the left of the 1 on the US keyboard. If you put a single backtick on either side of a code snippet, it really helps it stand out. Everyone said that having threads and channels is the real killer feature of Slack. Dave Hay added that another reason he likes Slack is that it's not Facebook, which he wrote as !Facebook, which is a programming way of saying not. The best part of that comment was when Mike Price, also known as Grumpy, responded with, Dave, this is the general channel, not programming by stealth. I love that. Anyway, Mike's other answer to my question about what makes him like our Slack community was even better. He wrote, I like the opportunity to try to help folks with their tech questions and problems. I know that answer isn't specific to Slack, but it's the best part of having any community chat. If you're happy with Facebook and want to keep playing in there, that's great. Actually, I'm going to stop right here. I may switch over to my other comment here. I'm going to multiplex.
Is it a good time to do a save?
Yeah, but I got
just in case.
Yeah. If you're happy, I'm going to kind of flip back and forth here. Now, I wrote up this discussion of Facebook versus Slack last week, but I didn't have room for it in last week's podcast, but the blog post did go up. Well, you know exactly what happened, right? The people on Facebook went bananas this week, having all kinds of great conversations. Now, it wasn't just because of the new announcements either. Joe started talking about upgrading from Sierra to Catalina. Mark started a discussion about how cool spatial audio is on AirPods Pro. Eric posted a guide about using watchOS 7 without Force Touch. Bob posted an article about some security issue. And people even responding to all of my blog posts. I don't think this all happened because of the article, but I'm sure glad people are having fun in there. I still think Slack is a cooler place to hang out, but I just want everyone to have fun wherever they are. Okay, now I got to go pick up where the other one go. Back here. If what I've talked about today makes you think it might be about Slack, go on over to podfeed. Again. If what I've talked about here makes you think you do want to give Slack a try, check it out over at podfeet.com/Slack. Okay, I think that worked. Put it together. Well, did I miss anything?
Not at all.
78 new messages, huh? All right, where am I? Save and add to chapter mark. I should add a chapter.
Marty's got his gifts going. I'm not quite sure what he's trying to convey with that most recent one. Marty, maybe you can...
Save as the sausage samurai could
Oh,
attack.
sausage samurai. Got it. Okay.
Maybe that's it. Okay.
Oh,
I got
boy.
a tiny tip to do here.
Yeah,
Not
this
the
is one.
best tiny
This is
tip.
one of the coolest tiny tips. Is this the one I'm thinking
No,
of?
this isn't the coolest one.
Oh,
This
okay.
one's cool, but it's not the coolest
It's
one.
not the one I'm thinking of. Okay.
No. We'll get to that one in a minute. I have two tiny tips.
Ooh.
All right. This is the one about. This is the era one. Did I put in a chapter mark? No, I did not. Jeez. It's like I can't remember something for 5 seconds. There we go. Preview that one. Tiny tip. She's singing. No, Mom, no one does. Was the article? Frank says it was the article. That's why why people started having fun in there. Maybe. Who knows? Okay, now back to this one. Which going to turn that one? There we go. All right, here we go. Internet of Things devices, also known as IoT, are proliferating into our lives, saving us from the incredibly arduous tasks of turning off light bulbs and closing our blinds. If you've been playing with IoT for any length of time, you know what I'm talking about. Setting up IoT devices usually follows this generic set of steps. Launch the vendor-specific app on your phone, press some sort of button on the IoT device. The app will then tell you to change to your phone's Wi-Fi. Okay, too much stumbling. Internet of Things devices, also known as IoT, are proliferating into our lives, saving us from the incredibly arduous tasks of turning off light bulbs and closing our blinds. If you've been playing with IoT for any length of time, you know what I'm talking about. Setting up IoT devices usually follows this generic set of steps. You launch the vendor-specific app on your phone, you press some sort of button on the IoT device. The app will then tell you to change your Wi-Fi network, your phone's Wi-Fi network, to the one being broadcast by the IoT device. Then the IoT device handshakes with your phone in magic in the background, and then you change your phone back to your real Wi-Fi and everything's great. During this process, the IoT device will attempt to connect to the real Wi-Fi network your phone is using. While many modern IoT devices connect easily in this way, some IoT devices simply fail to connect. And here's why. The network your phone is connected to is probably using the 5 gigahertz radio of your Wi-Fi router, but IoT devices usually only have a 2.4 gigahertz radio. I'll get into why some overcome this obstacle and some don't in a little bit. With the traditional non-mesh routers, you could name your 5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz radio with two different service set identifiers, also known as SSIDs. If you did separate the networks in this way, you could connect your phone to the 2.4 gigahertz network during setup of the IoT device, so the IoT device would see the correct radio, and then when you were done, you could change your phone back to the 5 gigahertz radio. While this method worked, it meant you were constantly seeing two Wi-Fi signals for one router, which was annoying, but at least you could get your toys to work. I remember working with Belkin a few years ago, trying to get some ancient Wemo switches back on our network after I swapped out a router, and it was only after Steve and I spent hours and hours of fussing with them that I remembered they required this 2.4 gigahertz network. Well, many people have moved on from the traditional single access point Wi-Fi routers to use mesh router systems. If you have an device that can't connect, did my audio just get weird?
Yeah.
Well, many people have moved on from the traditional single access point.
Something happened
weird.
there.
I heard it it dropped out.
Well, and there was an electronic buzz replacing your audio for a second or two.
I will pick this up where I was. Many people have moved from traditional single access point Wi-Fi routers to mesh router systems. If you have an IoT device that cannot connect, you simply cannot name the two different radios with different SSIDs. I've had IoT manufacturers helping diagnose their equipment with me suggest just get really far from the router during setup. They suggest this because the lower frequency Wi-Fi signal, 2.4 gigahertz, travels farther than the higher frequency 5 gigahertz band. So here I am in the backyard over by the ivy trying to see if I can get the chimney that I know is lined in metal to block the terrific Wi-Fi signal my mesh router system is broadcasting, just to set up an IoT switch outlet. It didn't work when I tried that, of course. As a complete side note, would you like a way to remember that lower frequencies travel farther and better through walls than higher frequencies? If you know someone has a big bassy stereo booming away in their car, you can hear it. Oh, sorry, I noticed a weird typo and I got distracted. Side tone, not side note, not side tone. Sorry, let me fix that. Side note. Okay, I tried to take a screenshot while I was talking. Sometimes that works. Usually doesn't. All right. If you know someone as a complete save preview. As a complete side note, would you like a way to remember? And sorry, that looks like I might have cut myself off. T-switch outlet. It didn't work when I tried that, of course. Okay, no, it did. Good. As a complete side note, would you like a way to remember it's lower frequencies that travel farther than high frequencies? You know how if someone has a big, bassy stereo booming away in their car, you can hear it down the block? That's because it's such low frequency. You never hear the piccolos from a mile away, do you? So remember, it's the low frequency that goes a long ways. So the 2.4 gigahertz in this example. Now, I promised to tell you why, even though pretty much all IoT devices only have 2.4 gigahertz radios, some of them can connect to mesh systems broadcasting only one SSID for both radios, but some can't. I've been chatting with Dave Hamilton of the Mac Geek Gab about this for a couple of years, and on a recent show, he explained what he thinks is going on. In the ones doing it incorrectly, he says that the IoT device looks at the Wi-Fi signal to which your phone is connected and connects to the MAC address of the radio, and that's likely to be the 5 gigahertz radio. MAC addresses identify specific hardware, and under normal circumstances, those never change. So here's this light bulb that has detected the MAC address of your 5 gigahertz radio as the one it thinks it wants, and yet it can't talk to that frequency and fails to connect. The ones that are doing it correctly are being a little bit more intelligent. Like their less intelligent brethren, they start by finding the Wi-Fi signal to which your phone is connected, but they don't grab the MAC address, they only look at the SSID. As long as they choose the SSID, the Wi-Fi router will serve them both radios, and since they only have a 2.4 gigahertz radio, the IoT device will get only the right one. So, this was supposed to be a tiny tip, but I needed to do all of that setup. What do you do if you have a mesh router and an IoT device that can't connect? On the same episode of the Mac Geek Gab, John F. Braun was talking about some light bulbs he couldn't get to connect to his mesh network, which in his case is an Eero router. He and Dave were musing on whether it was a 2.4 gigahertz problem. Listener Curtis wrote in the following week explaining that Eero has the perfect solution to the problem. Thanks to Curtis, here's the tiny tip you've been waiting for. In the Eero app, tap on Settings in the bottom right, then select Troubleshooting. The very first item in troubleshooting says, "My device won't connect." When you select that option, there are 3 paragraphs explaining pretty much what I've just described, and then you'll see a lovely big blue button, temporarily pause 5 gigahertz. Isn't that awesome? When you select that option, you get a countdown timer starting at 15 minutes, during which time your 5 gigahertz network will be unavailable, giving you ample time to connect your less than brilliant IoT device. During this time, all your other devices should continue to work, but you might see some speed degradation because it's just the 2.4 gigahertz. I am so happy that Curtis wrote in to the Mac Geek Gab to tell us this awesome trick. That was a long, tiny tip. Jeez, this can be a long show.
Yeah, but I think that was a good one. That's what I love about these new mesh routers. They have so much visibility and control into your network, which That information I think has always been there in the router, the Wi-Fi router, but it just hasn't been made available to users.
Yeah, or if it was available, it was cryptically available.
Yeah, or you had
Like
to
now
log in
he's-
through a web page to get in and log into the router and do some gymnastics just to get some control.
I was really worried that I was going to hate not having a web interface, but man, I'm really glad I don't have a web interface.
And to be able to do it from your phone, that's pretty handy.
Yeah, it's perfect. All right.
It's great when you want to do debugging because you can walk around to various IoT devices and turn things off and on and observe their status.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to tiny tip here. Or no, pledge break. You're going to like this one. For this week's pledge break, I am not going to panhandle for money. I'm going to ask for something much more precious to me. If you have any friends who like technology and like podcasts, why don't you tell them about the many fine shows at podfeed.com? Maybe they've always wanted to learn to program. You could tell them about programming by stealth. Or perhaps they're not super geeky, but like a good conversation about tech. You could tell them about Chit Chat Across the Pond Lite. Maybe they've always been afraid of the command line. You could tell them about Taming the Terminal and how they can get a free book. Or you could even tell them about the NosillaCast, a place to put world events away for an hour or so and be in your happy place. It's a gift to me if you bring us more friends, and of course, it's a gift to them as well. How's that? Wasn't that sweet?
That was nice.
Another Tesla. Well, Frank, actually, I thought about. I actually have an affiliate link for Tesla, and I thought about doing that.
No.
I didn't have the nerve. I lost my nerve. Okay, this is the best tip ever. So, I got to put some tiny tip music in. Let me put my chapter mark in first. Here. You're going to enjoy.
John's asking, do you have the base Eero or the Pro? What is the Pro Eero?
Well, we have the Eero Pro model.
Okay.
And I did figure out a reason why 3 Eero Pros are better than a 1 Eero Pro with the 2 beacons. We needed to put a bridge plugged into the router to make our Wisecam Outdoor work, and we were able to plug it into the closest one to where we were plugging in the camera.
By plug-in, you mean an Ethernet plug-in?
It had to be plugged in via Ethernet to the router. So
the standard
bridge is now downstairs, really close to where the camera is.
The standard satellite Eeros don't include a Wi-Fi connection. I'm sorry, an Ethernet connection.
I don't know about standard and pro. I don't know. I was beacons versus having 3 pros.
Okay.
So what I didn't know was the difference between the Sandy's got the regular Eero with 2 beacons, and but I think the beacons don't have Ethernet jacks. So at least there is some advantage, but it sounds like the other one works great. All right, time for the real tiny tip. You thought that tiny tip was good. All right, here we go. This is going to be funny. Another. Wait, what? A second tiny tip? Yes, and this one is epic. I am so excited about this one. And I didn't come up with this one either. My neighbor Rick just taught me this awesome trick. His wife is scanning in photos, and she's got a lot of negatives to sort through. Thornton said in Bad Santa, they can't all. So she wants to find the really good negatives to be scanned. The problem is that negatives are very hard to judge with the colors inverted. For some reason, we simply can't swap the colors in our heads and make, really tell what a picture is of. I have no idea why or how he thought of this idea, but he figured out how to use an iPhone or iPad to view negatives in their proper colors. Open Settings, Accessibility, Display and Text Size, and find the setting entitled Classic Invert. Toggle it on. Your iOS device will now look very weird, but if you launch the camera app and pretend you're going to take a photo of the negative, you'll be able to see the negative with the colors just as they would be if you printed it. I completely understand why this works, but it is still actually just crazy to see it work. Rick went on to explain that it was tedious to keep going in and out of settings and digging down to Classic Convert, so he created a shortcut for it. It's quite simple to create yourself. Open Shortcuts, tap the plus sign to create a new shortcut. Search for settings, and in that surprisingly short list, you'll find Classic Convert. When you select it, it will add Turn Classic Convert On. He saved his shortcut with the name Invert On, and now he can simply use the S lady to say Invert On when he wants to view a negative. He created a second one with the same Classic Invert, but toggled it from on to off, and he called that one Invert Off. Now, while his Siri shortcut is brilliant, I thought of another way to speed up the toggling of Classic Invert. Open Settings, Accessibility, and scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see Accessibility Shortcut. Select it, and you'll see a dozen or so accessibility features you can enable by triple-clicking the Power or Home button. When you have just one option selected, as I just described, the triple click of the Power or Home button will toggle that feature on and off. You can also select several options, and then a triple click will show you the options, and you can toggle the ones you want. I keep VoiceOver, Magnifier, and Zoom in my list, but I just added Classic Invert, and now I can toggle it on and off if I want to view negatives. I am absolutely tickled with such an innovative solution, and even more tickled that my friend Rick figured it out. That's the good one. Did they like the pictures?
I didn't post. Let me post the actual negative and positives.
The negative. You got to put the negative with the positive.
Yeah, it got the
that's
feature.
Lindsay, the daughter, in the photo, by the way.
The little baby in the dress.
Yeah. There you go. That's better.
That's Lindsay. I think that was a.
And we just gave her that dress to put on Sienna.
That's right. Now this is just for viewing, kids, not for actually scanning. But maybe hopefully that came across.
Somebody pointed out you could probably use the magnifier the same way with the invert on. 2020 GIF Festival, courtesy of Dudley. Does it work with black and white too? Yes, it would. Invents color, Ed.
Wait,
no. I see
black and white.
Would it invert it?
Yeah, I see no reason why I wouldn't. Right? It's having to do more work with the color.
Wait, Kevin said that Lindsay's adorable like her dad. Oh, that's not, John, that's not Steve's green fingernail polish. That's mine, which is not green. It is this color.
Pink turns to green. It's the opposite on the color wheel.
Now, JF said those settings are available in the mirror also. Filters. Well, the settings apply to the whole phone. All right, I got a long post coming up. I got to stop screwing around.
Yeah, and you've got 7 minutes.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen.
Good luck, people. Maybe get a drink and come back. I don't know.
Yes, we did start late, Michael. Thank you for throwing us a bone there.
Well, because Steve had trouble with his audio. I think SoundSource has a problem. All right, here we go. Bring it home. In Programming by Stealth with Bart Busschots, we just passed a huge milestone, not only reaching 100 episodes, but we also completed our section on learning JavaScript. Our final project for this phase was to create a web app with a very specific kind of clock on it. I had so much fun doing the design and coding on this project that I wanted to walk you through what I designed, how it was implemented, and to talk through some of the user interface design decisions. I promise I'm not going to get into the nitty code itself, but this might be enough tease to get you to think about maybe learning to program. At the very least, it will help you think about what goes into making web pages interactive. My project is called Time Shifter Clock, and you can view it at podfeed.com/time-shifter-clock, because everything good starts with podfeed.com, right? The problem I'm trying to solve with my clock is how to tell someone in a different time zone what time you want to meet with them. This comes up in podcasting all the time, but I bet it comes up for you too. Maybe your company spans time zones, and you can never figure out whether your coworker is in the part of Arizona that follows daylight saving time or the part that doesn't. Yes, Arizona people, you're always smug about not following daylight saving time, but there are parts of it, the state, that do. Maybe you're trying to plan a family Zoom to stay in touch. In all cases, you spend a lot of time and energy trying to figure out how to explain a future time in two different time zones. As I've mentioned at least 238 times before, I have a lot of trouble with addition and subtraction due to my earliest education being hampered by new math in the 1960s. There's a link in the show notes to how stupid this was. Anyway, the result is that arithmetic using the number 8 seems to be even worse than most numbers. So when Bart, who is 8 hours away from me most of the year, he says meet him at 11 p.m., there's a really good chance I will show up at the completely wrong time. Now, you may be yelling at your podcatcher that there's a zillion services out there that will provide you with the current time in two time zones. That is absolutely true. But they all tell you what time it is now, not what time it will be if you shift forward in time. That is the problem my clock solves. Now, Bart added a twist to this project for us. I'd planned on making a web app that would tell me what time it would be in my time and someone else's time zone, and then I would manually go type that into an email or text it to that person. He upped the ante by telling us to figure out how to have this little web app create a URL that you could send to someone, and when they opened it in a browser, it would show them the time. That made the game a lot more interesting. For my time shifter clock, I wanted to show 3 clocks as a minimum. I wanted to show the current time in your time zone, and the seconds would be clicking along, indicating that the time is being constantly updated. I wanted 2 clocks that will shift in time, but will not update every second like the current time. So there's 2 ways to create 3 of the same thing in programming. Option 1 is I could create 3 clocks where the code for the 2 shifting clocks were replicants of each other, and the current time had some of the same replicated code. Replicated code is what Bart says is called a bad smell. That bad smell means that if you decide to make a change or find a bug in one place, you have to remember to fix it in all the replicated code. Option 2, which is what all the cool kids who have made it past PBS 94 know how to do, is to use what are called classes and instances. I hope I get the terminology right here. People will make fun of me if I don't, but I'm going to do my best. The basic idea is you create a class for a clock that has all of the basic bits and pieces that will exist in every clock, and that every variant is an instance of that clock class. For example, my clock class has a function that checks what time zone has been specified and fetches the time. I don't need to write that function 3 times because it's in the class. But I do need to be able to represent different time zones in the different instances of the clock class. To do this, you create what are called instance attributes, and each instance of the class can have different values for the attributes. I can assign a different time zone to each clock, and then the function to find the time can be written only once, but returns 3 different values for the 3 different clocks. One of the attributes I put in my clock class is called time shifted. If the instance of my clock class has time shifted set to false, then it will be unaffected by any user interface element I create that tries to shift the time. If it's set to true, then that particular instance of the clock will shift time when directed to. This is how I have 1 clock showing the current time in your zone, and it's not shifting, and 2 clocks that do shift in time, all without replicating code to show 3 clocks. I think that's super cool and powerful. I may have been overzealous about class attributes, though. I can have them have different background colors, whether they have a border or not, and all kinds of other nonsense that doesn't really matter very much. I'm pretty sure I even have some attributes in there that I don't even use. It's in my ever-lengthening to-do list to clean that up. Now, I wanted the user to get to choose what cities would be represented in the 2 time-shifting clocks. So I gave the clocks an instance attribute of whether to have a search field. See, the local time doesn't get one, so the other 2 have to have that as an instance attribute. And then I prepended a pretty little icon of a magnifying glass to the text input box that gives the user a hint that it's to search. That little magnifying glass comes from a really cool service called Font Awesome, which Bart is wild about. In fact, I'm pretty sure the magnifying glass was his idea to make my user interface a little more, intuitive. Now, I decided the clocks would make more sense if they had a default city in them. So I set the first one to Los Angeles and the second one to Dublin. I know that's selfish, because it means for me to work with Bart, I don't have to do any searching because it's already going to tell me the time in those 2 time zones, and I can start sliding the slider. But hey, I did all the work, so I get to choose the defaults. bothers Marianne. She wants one of them to be New Zealand. Anyway, on a web app like this, if you want the user to be able to change things, you add what are called event handlers. That's a fancy way of saying, if the user pushes this here button, go execute that there code. It's pretty obvious that I would need a few of these event handlers. The most critical one to the whole design was an event handler that would allow the user to shift time into the future. I decided to use what's called an input with type equals range. In English, it means a little slider bar you can drag to shift time. When the page first loads, the two clocks that will shift get populated with the time. So let's say it's 4:13 p.m. in Los Angeles and 12:13 a.m. in Dublin when I first render the page. Those times will be frozen, waiting for me to shift them, even though the current time will be advancing with each second. Now, that's a little weird, but shifting a changing time is just too headbendy for me. In designing the time shifter slider, I had to decide what increments of time the user should see and how far into the future they would see. I decided granularity of a half hour and seeing a week into the future would be kind of a nice sweet spot. Implementation of this created another UI design decision. If you launch this web app at 4:13 p.m., like we said, would you want a half-hour increment forward to be 4:43 and then 5:13 and 5:43? Probably not, because you're not likely to ask someone to meet you at such a weird time. So in my code, I decided to round the time down to the nearest hour as soon as the person starts the slide. So if it says 4:13 when you load the page, when you start to move the slider, it would first round down to 4 p.m. and then advance forward from there. This might be a little confusing to the user, but later on I'll explain how I solved that possible confusion. Remember up front I said that we had to create a sendable URL that when received by someone else would show them the time you wanted to meet? That is triggered by another event handler. It was great fun writing the underlying code to make the magic happen when you click the big red Copy URL to Send Times button on my web app. Bart also thought it would be useful to allow the viewer to choose whether to see the times chosen in 12 or 24-hour clocks. For that event handler, I chose a little toggle. I like this feature because my brain can't do 24-hour clocks. I find myself always thinking, okay, wait, he said 1,300 hours, that 13 minus 8, carry the 2, move the decimal place, what he said. But I can send Bart the time in 12 hours to my time shifter clock. When he receives it, he just hit the toggle to see it in 24 hours the way he likes to see it. After the user makes all of these decisions, choosing the two cities, dragging the time shifter forward in time, setting 12 or 20 format, they then hit the big copy URL button and send it to their partner. Now, here's the really fun part. When the other person receives this URL and opens it, they'll see the whole clock interface as I've been describing. They can slide it to a different time, copy the URL, and send it right back. I think it's a great way to collaboratively decide on a time that's right for both people. Another challenge in the design of my time shifter clock was how to explain what it was going on to the user. Like I said up front, this tool does something different than all of the other time zone websites out there. I knew I needed an explanation, but have you ever gone to a website where there's like a ton of words to explain it and you just want to start pushing buttons instead of reading? I needed a way to explain it, but only if the user asked for it. My first idea was to use a font awesome icon like a little eye in a circle, like an information button, and if you hovered over it, you'd get a pop-up that showed you an explanation. This turned out to be a hot mess. While it worked okay on the desktop, it was a disaster on mobile. On an iPhone held in portrait position, so vertically, tapping on the information icon would pop up the message and instantly it would disappear. But if the phone was held horizontally in landscape, it worked just fine. I have no idea why it didn't work in only one orientation. I posted a question about this in the Programming by Stealth channel I just finished telling you about in our Slack community, and Marianne suggested on the pop-up to click instead of hover. That made sense because there isn't really a hover option on mobile devices. While this successfully stopped the disappearing act, there was an unfortunately worse side effect. If you got the information window to pop up, it covered the icon so you couldn't tap again to make it go away. My note was just too big for this kind of an interface element, I think. I started hunting for a better way. Now, most of the heavy lifting of creating the nice layout of my clock web app has been accomplished using a plugin Bart taught us called Bootstrap. There's a feature of Bootstrap called collapse. Basically, you can create a click handler. Remember those event handler things? An event handler on a button that slides down a section of text and then collapses it back up when you tap it again. It's very elegant and it works perfectly. When you look at my time shifter clock, there's a giant blue button that says push to learn how this works. Click it once and a short explanation elegantly slides into view. Click it again and it rolls up out of the way. It even animates. It's really pretty. I'm so happy with this solution because it's clear, it's there when you need it, and it's gone when you don't, giving you more room on screen for the user interface, and it works beautifully on both desktop and mobile. I was so enamored of this Bootstrap collapse technique that I added another one. Remember I was explaining earlier about how the time shifter rounds the hours down to the nearest hour before advancing forward in time? Well, I thought people might be confused by that. So right above the slider, I added a little question mark from Fawn Awesome with the word help next to it. If you tap that, a little box slides down using a Bootstrap collapse to reveal the explanation of how the feature works. Again, informative and elegant. When I first started developing my fancy time shifter clock, I was constantly studying documentation to learn how to create the elements of my design. In particular, I needed to learn how to use some plugins for JavaScript that would do all of the excessively complex time math. Those two plugins are called Moment.js and Moment Time Zone. I also needed to look things up in the Programming by Stealth show notes, and the easiest way to do that has been to use Dorothy's awesome PBS index. In all, there were 8 different places I was constantly having to go to on the web to look for methods, and it was getting tedious opening them all the time. Another feature of Bootstrap allows the developer to create what's called a navbar at the top of the screen. I added a navbar to my web app to include what I call helpful resources. On a big screen, my navbar shows links to the time zone documentation across the top, and then there's a drop-down menu of PBS resources. The cool thing about Bootstrap is it makes it really easy to have adaptable menus for the small screen too. When you look at my time shifter clock on a mobile device, all of these menus collapse into cute little hamburger menus so they don't waste your precious screen real estate. While this navbar was super helpful for me in the development process, if you look at my web app right now, you might find it curious that they're even included. Like, what's that got to do with this time clock thing? I'm planning some future enhancements right now, and one of them is to get rid of my lovely navbar. I'll certainly do a new one on my next project while I'm working on it for my own use, but now that my time shifter clock is officially released, I think it just takes up space with no value. The bigger enhancement I'm working on right now is to give the ability to add more cities. Right now, you can only see the time in 2 time zones. But what if you're trying to coordinate with 3 people or more? Remember how I said I used classes to create my clocks and how that made it easy to have multiple clocks without replicating the code? Well, it turns out the way I implemented this idea caused me to have to sort of hardwire some of those bits and pieces. While as a developer, I could certainly make there be 3 clocks pretty easily, allowing the user to do it with a push of a button is not possible. Dorothy's been helping me noodle out where I need to make some fundamental structural changes to the code, and that's been super helpful. I know what I need to do, and I think I even know how to do it. That said, it's probably going to take me months of time, and that'll be vast amounts of entertainment for me to try and execute on this task. And I have to do it without breaking the time or the data or the time shifter slider. There's a lot of work to this, but it's going to be fun. I hope you enjoyed getting a little glimpse behind the curtain of what goes into the design of a little web app like mine. I've had such fun designing this, making the decisions on the user interface, and building what I think is a truly useful app that solves a real problem. I hope you'll go give it a try over at podfeed.com/time-shifter-clock. If you want to see the guts under the hood, of course, it's released as an open source project on GitHub. I'm feeling quite the little developer now. There are 3 whole apps at podfeed.com/webapps. You can see my time shifter clock there, my currency converter, and my guess a number game. That's good stuff.
Yes, it is.
I'm putting that link in here because I just
a lot of talk about avocado toast, grits, and sweet tea or unsweetened tea.
Avocado toast. We should have had avocado on our bagels this morning, Steve.
We should have. Yes. Why did what?
Avocados. I think Lindsay makes avocados and does avocados and tomatoes. All right. Get rid of that and do this. And bring it home. Here we go, kids. This is it. That wasn't too long. 45 minutes. That's just about right. There we go. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Don't forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions by emailing me at allison@podfeed.com. And you can find me on Twitter at podfeed. As I've said like 7 times today, remember everything good starts with podfeed.com. You want to join Patreon? Podfeed.com/Patreon. Rather do a one-time donation? Podfeed.com/PayPal. Still having fun on Facebook? Podfeed.com/Facebook. Want to check out our Slack? Podfeed.com/Slack. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show and have amazing coincidences like 2 different people who actually knew each other because of a Japanese Discord, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. I still laugh that I had a friend who listened to the show, like all the time, always listened to the show. And he asked me one time what my email address was. It's like, really? You've never listened to the end. That's Castaway. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. There we go. All right. Let's see if I have enough chapters, Steve. How many do you think I should have? I have 7. I did the Telegram too. Yeah. Okay. I put a chapter mark in anyway. All right, everybody. It is 6:11. I've kept you people after class. Thank you very much for coming. Again, a wonderful birthday wish to you, Rose. Goodbye, everybody. All right. Bye.